mother, Nancy Guthrie, missing tonight. Clash of the Titans, a war between the gods. The FBI director, PATEL, versus FEMA Sheriff Nanos. How badly has Nanos torpedoed the search for Nancy? As
cannot help but write about the relationship with the victim and the victim's families. This perpetrator had gleaned.
We're trying to keep you guys out.
They did.
They did keep you out.
And look, here's how
time matters in an investigation.
The first 48 hours of anyone's disappearance are the most critical. And here's how these cases works. It is a state matter. It's a state and local law enforcement matter. What we, the FBI, do is say, hey, we're here to help. What do you need? What can we do? And for 4 days, we were kept out of the investigation. And when we were finally let in, Sean, look what we did. We went in and got the Ring doorbell. And we said, hey, is anyone talking to Google? I called the leadership at Google and I said, look, we know that there was not a subscription service to capture all of the data that would have been captured had there been a subscription service. But can we go into the cache? Can we go into the deep data before it's deleted and see what we can find? That's why you have that image, because the FBI worked with Google to put that image out. Another thing we asked to do,
You guys got that tape, which was the biggest breakthrough during that case.
we could have gotten it days before.
Now, the Pima County Sheriff today responded to Cash's comments on a podcast saying the Sheriff's Department did immediately start coordinating with the Bureau. Not buying it. Nice try.
that from straight out to Allison Weiner joining us, senior investigative reporter, author of a brand new book, Murder in the Media. Hey, New York Control Room, let's see that book, Murder in the Media. That's going to be a bestseller. Allison, thank you for being with us. I want to follow up on what Cash Patel was saying. It's stunning. We also learned he has a plane on standby. But let's take one thing at a time. What do you make of it?
I'm not buying it either. We were there. I was there with Brian Enton, and we were in Arizona in Tucson for almost 2 months. And in the early days of that investigation, there was no FBI. He had that scene with just the sheriffs for 4 days. It wasn't until the 5th day when the FBI came in. Furthermore, in those first 4 days, in one of those days, they thought it was just a walk away and that she had just gone meandering, despite the family saying that she didn't have cognitive issues and was not ambulatory. So I have to say that all the crime scene collection in those first 4 days, whatever they were doing before they released the crime scene, they released the crime scene before the FBI got in even.
I don't know whether to cry, laugh, or go take all the air out of Nanos' tires. I'm not sure which way I should go. That's from our friend Sean Hannity and his new podcast, Hang Out with Sean Hannity. Let me understand what I'm hearing, Allison. Cash Patel had a fixed-wing aircraft on standby, ready to take DNA taken from Mrs. Guthrie's home to Quantico to arguably the best lab in the world, and they were turned down. Did I hear that correctly, Allison?
I don't think they were even turned down. I think they didn't tell them that they had taken it to their own private lab until after the fact. And the private lab is in Florida. It's a good lab. But the basic fact is that the FBI lab is free and one of the best in the world. So I'm not, quite sure about that. But actually, Nancy, there's even more. We learned that HRT, the hostage rescue team from Quantico, had flown in and was waiting at the Air Force. And when they did that run to Rio Rico, the SWAT team went to Rio Rico to look into a suspect there or potential suspect. They did not. They got there and they went there, the sheriff's team, SWAT team, local team, without even racing there before the HRT could get there, even though they were on standby as well.
Quantico, best lab in the world. I had a fixed-wing aircraft on the ground ready to move it immediately through the night.
Did they just say no?
And they said, we're sending it to Florida.
They just said, we're sending it to Florida, from our friend Sean Hannity, Hang Out with Sean Hannity. Joining me now, Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, star of a hit podcast series, Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. But for our purposes, He is a death investigator. That's how I met Joe Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, did you hear what Patel said? And I agree with Hannity. I'm not buying it. At every turn, the feds are being thwarted. And what does that mean? I don't care about some turf battle. I care about finding Nancy Guthrie. And tonight, we're learning more and more about how Nanos, let me just say, technical legal phrase, screwed the pooch. Left, right, no matter what he was offered, he said no. What difference has it made that the feds were not allowed in and they did not take access of that fixed wing aircraft to get the DNA sent immediately? And that from our friends at News 12.
Let's preach a little bit, Nancy. Pride cometh before the fall. And that's what this is all about. And it's so critical in these moments when you can avail yourself of the services of the feds. You know, their abilities to what they can do are almost limitless. Think about how much money we dump into an organization like the FBI. And what Patel was saying relative to Quantico, it's what everybody else, shoots for in the area of forensic science relative to have those assets at your disposal. And for whatever reason, they did not want to avail themselves of the.
But simply put, the delay in the DNA, I mean, look, we still don't even have it. We still don't have it because of delay caused by Nanos. Who knows what a positive match could have meant in saving the life of Nancy Guthrie or finding her, Allison?
It's really, at first we tried not to focus on the sheriff because we really wanted to focus on Nancy Guthrie, but he was just too reckless of a presence to ignore because he was providing even the media with conflicting information about timelines, about, oh yeah, my bad, I opened up the scene too soon, I wouldn't do that again. There was an opportunity for the FBI to come right in there and do evidence collection, which is also, what they know how to do. Instead, he had inexperienced homicide investigators there, including the sergeant who we've reported, did not have, from an insider inside of the investigation, did not have any experience investigating a homicide. So
I launched hundreds of agents and intel staff to Phoenix and Tucson just for this case, just to be on standby.
And they didn't want
just
you
to
there.
do the canvassing. And we said, we'll take the DNA.
From our friends at Fox, that Sean Hannity's new podcast, Hang Out with Sean Hannity. Another thing to Brian Fitzgibbons. Guys, Fitzgibbons is Director of Operations, USPA, Nationwide Security. He leads a team of expert investigators around the world. He leads them finding and extracting missing people. Specifically, I'd like to point out, often from Mexico, which may come into play here. He is a former Marine and an Iraqi war vet, and I think that says it all. Brian Fitzgibbons, thank you for being with us tonight. Did you just hear Patel state, and I'm reading it verbatim, I launched hundreds of agents and intel staff to Phoenix and Tucson just for this case. And it's just to do the canvassing. And we said, look, we'll take the DNA, we'll start canvassing. Brian, a delay is a defendant's best friend. The canvassing needed to happen then, immediately, and not just the two next door neighbors, all around the neighborhood, getting video that maybe has now been overridden, questioning people about the night before. Like, can you tell me what noises you heard a week ago in the middle of the night? Because I can't. If you ask me about last night, yes, I can tell you the dog started barking at precisely 4 a.m. But if you ask me a week from now, I'm not going to know that anymore. All those agents on standby to find a missing person, gone. All that evidence, gone. Brian?
And these issues, Nancy, with the DNA are the tip of the iceberg. Because here's the deal. This is where my mind went almost immediately. If that was the level of collaboration or the lack thereof, how much work was duplicated when the FBI did actually enter the scene 5 days later, right? And what I mean by that is How much of this canvassing had already been done by Pima County? How much information was being shared between the agents from Pima County on the ground doing the investigation with the federal law enforcement agents? How much was done twice? How much time was wasted in those early days? And you're talking days 5 through 10, right? When the FBI first entered the scene. So, this statement from Patel is very concerning.
And, so far Patel's kept quiet until Hannity got him to speak out and tell what he knows. But, I want you to hear this, because the faster you can get on the ground and start looking, the more likely you're going to solve the case. And at first, at the very beginning, this was treated as if Nancy Guthrie had just wandered off and must have fallen in a ditch. What a load of hot, stinking, steaming BS. Now, listen to this, Fitzgibbons.
It is a state matter. It's a state and local law enforcement matter. What we, the FBI, do is say, hey, we're here to help. What do you need? What can we do? And for 4 days, we were kept out of the investigation.
4 days. 4 days. From our friend Sean Hannity at Hang Out with Sean Hannity, his podcast. 4 days, Brian. You can't get that back. As I always say, like when you got a missing child, every hour, 60 mph at best. They're getting further and further and further away. In this case, same thing. Nancy Guthrie getting further and further and further away, while Nanas has his thumb up as you know what.
For Pima County to not have the agility to plan for bringing in these federal resources quickly on a high-profile case like this, it just speaks to the political nature of the decision that NANO's made. That this is a long-standing beef with the FBI, and that he, just got, Morgan said it best, pride cometh before the fall. And this was a decision born out of pride that he wanted to be the one to solve this case.
After a traffic stop, indicating a distinct interest in a gray van or SUV. There was an investigation focused by Pima County on analyzing footage, and neighbors were actually asked about the existence of a gray van. Now, this video is from our friend Crystal's Crime Board. Karen Stark joining us, forensic psychologist, renowned TV and radio trauma expert and consultant at KarenStark.com. Karen, there's more to come, but I wanted you to hear some of the evidence that has been delayed or even lost because of Nanos's refusal to let the feds step in.
It's somebody who believes that he can do this himself, no matter what's available to him. Took a chance. He actually took a chance with somebody's life because he had to prove this point that he could do it because he was upset with the FBI. And it's playing out in front of everybody how ridiculous and mean and scary it is that he did not take action and get all the help available to him.
Straight out to Dave Mack joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Dave, what can you tell me about a huge swath of land near Nancy Guthrie's home that has not been searched?
This is an area that we're talking a mile to a mile and a half away from Nancy Guthrie's home. It is an area that is fenced off because it is a water processing facility. Okay, it's called the TUCSON Water Municipal Property. Totally gated, you can't go in. Civilians enter, it's a felony. But Nancy, 6 days after Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped, on February 7th, NASA's firm satellite, this FIRMS, it is a free information for resource management system. All right, this is some satellite that actually maps platforms providing real-time imagery of heat signatures, hotspot data, in particular in areas like the TUCSON Water Municipal Property. At 10:57, 10:58 a.m. on February 7th, NASA's firm satellite picked up a clear, high-confidence daytime heat signature at a very precise coordinate on the TUCSON Water Municipal Property. Again, a mile from Nancy's home, The area is gated and locked. But Nancy, the area where this heat signature came from is at the top of a hill leading down to an arroyo that has scrub brush, small trees, and things like that. But the heat signature was there, not near the municipal pipes for water and everything else. We're talking in a land area that is going uphill, dirt, trees, things like that, or shrubs rather. So this heat signature, Nancy, on February 7th was out of the ordinary, not something that normally happens, and it hasn't been searched. This is a mile from Nancy Guthrie's home, a heat signature at 10:57 in the morning, and nobody searched to find out what it was.
Straight out to Joseph Scott Morgan joining us, professor of forensics and death investigator.
With every moment, you're losing valuable time here. Guess what? That heat signature doesn't exist anymore. It's gone at this moment in time. And any trail that might lead to some kind of information that would be critical relative to the status of Mrs. Guthrie, that trail has gone cold at this point in time. So that leaves us wondering, what in the world would we do? As far as seeking her out now, because that is precious time. And this case, Nancy, all hinges on time, doesn't it? Response times. It seems like that the people involved in this from Jump Street have a bit of disorganization and, let's face it, lethargy.
That from our friends at News 12. Dave Mack, explain to me where exactly that heat signature was.
It was in the Tucson municipal water cordoned off area, about a mile and a half from Nancy Guthrie's home. I mentioned, Nancy, that this is a very large area, a huge, as you've called it, a huge swath of land that is cordoned off. It is gated, it's locked, barbed wire at the top, and no civilians are allowed in. But this is only a mile and a half from Nancy Guthrie's home, 6 days after she is stolen in the middle of the night. A heat signature, exact position.
I'm curious. Joe Scott Morgan, you mentioned that evidence is now gone. To Brian Fitzgibbons joining us, Director of Operations, USPA Nationwide Security. How valuable would that be in a search for a missing person? You've got this giant swath of land very close to Nancy Guthrie's home, and out of the blue, an elevated heat signature indicating a living creature, not a dead creature, a living creature, and it wasn't pursued. Now, is it because the land was surrounded by barbed wire? You know what? Where I grew up, a lot of pastures full of cows were surrounded by barbed wire. We just went over them or under them. It's not hard. So a barbed wire fence is stopping Pima Sheriff from searching, and you've got this elevated heat signature popping up in the middle of it, and nothing's done?
Yeah, I have to think that what you're seeing here is issues with triaging these data points. In that close proximity to Mrs. Guthrie's home, you would think that this would be followed up very quickly. And I'll add one thing here. Private investigator Steve Fisher, who's been many times a guest of this show, did a great job explaining a few months ago drone technology that's available that can quickly grid search these expansive areas and stitch together effectively it looks almost like a satellite map, but it's taken by drone. Something like that, tying in an external resource that quickly. There were failures all along the way to bring in outside help to do things like that. So it was just I don't think it was the barbed wire that kept them out. I think it was an inability to effectively work with anybody outside of Pima County.
Ryan Fitzgibbons, you're absolutely right. Take a listen to Steve Fisher.
So what we can do with these specialized drones, and these are enterprise drones, these are not regular consumer drones, is we can program them to search or to fly certain search grids and whatnot. And so we do is the drone flies these lines of it that we define, and then when it's complete, we have a photography we have imagery of this whole area. And then we can do is we can actually build a map out of that and stitch those together and then actually search the map.
Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter, what can you tell me about solar-powered cameras and what, if anything, they may yield?
Nancy, the one thing we know about these solar-powered cameras and devices is that we watched as the law enforcement removed one of these solar-powered devices and wired camera from the route. If you remember, it was around February the 6th into the investigation, 7 days in. And we know that these solar-powered cameras and other electronics, they're not attached to the grid. So whatever is being run and recorded by these cameras would be saved. It's not part of any kind of grid, so it doesn't matter if you cut all the wires in town. These things are independently powered.
Hi guys, American homeowners. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud called title theft, and your equity is the target. With just a forged signature, your ownership can be transferred out of your name, and without protection in place, you're left with an emotional and financial nightmare. That is why we partner with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code Nancy at HometitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you're a victim of fraud, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your home equity today. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Nancy, or just use the link below. And good luck.
Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5 teenage build, private room, fleeing after 2200 hours, positive. Yesterday, Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Allison Weiner joining us, senior investigative reporter and author of a new book, Murder in the Media. Allison, is it true that even though the family, Nancy Guthrie, said this isn't right, the camera's dislodged, there's blood on the front porch, she didn't just wander away? At the get-go, Nana's insisted on treating this as a case where an elderly individual simply wandered off.
Yes, and I think that's what they were used to dealing with there. He actually had a press conference where that's exactly what he said. That this is, she had wandered off, we're looking for her, and there were, at that time, the family was inside the house, there were other officers inside the house, and they all went searching around to see if they could find Nancy. So, again, you have, evidence disruption. You have them looking and not spending the time and not seemingly being able to put together the fact that there's blood on the porch and a trail of blood on the porch. So maybe she didn't just walk away, and also the fact that the family said she was non-ambulatory, and we heard Savannah say that in a press conference, that she barely could make it to the mailbox most days.
And my sister called me, and I said, "Is everything okay?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" She said, "She's gone. She must have had some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come." I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time, and it was just chaos. Yeah. My mom, she was in tremendous pain. Her back was very bad. She was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open. Yeah. And there was blood on the front doors. And the Ring camera had been yanked off. Yeah. And so we were saying, this is...
Do something.
This is not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
This isn't, something is very wrong here.
That